LBLJ's lobby backwards long jumps are much easier than you think. You are going to need the Usamune Mario 64 ROM. It's going to make practicing so much easier. Next, I recommend the BizHawk emulator and a controller with N64 style notches. You don't need either of those things, but it's going to make it a lot easier. BizHawk is a TAS emulator, tool-assisted speedruns, which means it has all these tools to help you make tricks and practice tricks. The best one is hitting minus on your keyboard, which will slow down your game. I recommend half speed if you find any of these things difficult. And if you can do it at half speed, you'll be surprised how much easier it is at full speed. Next, you're going to want a controller with N64 style notches. You can do this with any controller with the analog style controls, that's true. But those notches, this game is built around them, and it's going to make things so much easier. In analog control is where I can move the control stick just a little bit and our character moves a little bit. But if I move it a lot, it moves a lot, right? It's got that depth to it. Digital controls are what we don't want, like your D-pad, where up is only gonna move you up. We can't differentiate between moving fast and moving slow with just the press of up. If you're doing this with digital controls, honestly, let me know in the comments because what you're doing is kind of impressive and really difficult. The setup. Press down on the D-pad. This brings us into the Usamune menu. This is navigated with your D-pad and your C buttons. Navigate to reset, go to S states and change it to D up. Now you can create a save state by pressing start and load your save state by pressing D up. Go to MISC and change your mode to emulator or N64 depending on what you're on. Go up to HUD, change your life to F speed. Now at the top left you can see Mario's speed. And when he goes backwards, it has an M, which I guess means backwards. Part 1, the ledge. We need to double jump and grab this ledge. The easiest way to do that is to find this notch on the stairs. I call it the first little stabby because it's the first place where the white line stabs the stairs. Now we need to aim for the magic spot. You can double jump from the stabby stair or the stair above the stabby stair. It just depends on how hard upright you go. Now wait for the camera to get all the way stuck behind this door and tap C left. I find that step to be unnecessary a lot of the time, but I do it anyway and it makes me feel good. Part 2, the tile. We need to get to this back white tile. Now if we go almost anywhere else, left or back, we're doomed. We're out of here. To lock in the position, we're gonna watch Mario's shadow. Part 3, the jump. This is what you came here for. To make this easier, we're gonna hug this wall by pressing down. Here's why. The hardest part of this trick is actually doing the long jump and not falling outside of this thing. To do a long jump, Mario needs at least 11 speed. If he's at 16, he'll do a faster long jump and push himself out of there. If you do it like the speedrunners and try to just run from 0, then you almost have to do it perfect. But since we're starting at speed 6 and not 0, our chances of jumping out of here are so much lower. So from down, slide to down left, do a long jump as soon as possible. This is where notches make things so much easier because I can slide from down to exactly down left and then move upright. It really, really helps. This is the hardest part of the trick. Use your save states. Slow down the emulator, it's going to save your butt. A couple of things to correct for if you're struggling. If you're stomping, you're pressing A and Z too close together. Doesn't mean you're hitting them at the same time, you can just hit them really close together. If you're jumping, you're long jumping too soon. If your camera turns and you can't see, don't worry, you can still move Mario into position and make the trick. We're aiming for the top of that white tile from before, and we're using Mario's shadow to get into position. You can also land it further back. I just find the top of that white tile to be more successful. If you miss, you can always long jump out of a long jump and try again. You can try quite a few times to get over there. Part 4, the mash. Now we want to press A as fast as we can. How fast? How many times? That's gonna depend on how good of an A masher you are. Every time Mario long jumps here, his speed is multiplied by 1.5. So if you're a faster masher, you'll have to press it less times. The real thing you need to ask yourself is how many times do I need to mash A to get Mario's speed from about 700 to 1200. You can do it at 613, but you're playing risky business there. The ideal speed, I think, is 800 to 1000. But again, 700 to 1200. My main problem here is overmashing, where I hit 1500 and I blast through the stairs and now I can't do the trick at all. Once you've got Mario at the right speed, we need to hold right and we're on to part 5, movement. Now, if Mario is going slower than 800, I find his chances of using the door to be much higher. However, even with a good speed, sometimes he'll use the door, sometimes he goes through. It just happens. Once we're behind the door, we want to hold down, swap to Mario Cam, and tap C right until he blasts out. Once we're stuck on the stairs, we're in a good place. Tap R to go back to Lakitu Cam. We're going to move Mario based on the angle we see. You probably want to tap C right or C left, depending on where you landed. Just be careful, it's very easy to mess it up. You're gonna tap jump until you blast up the stairs, which will happen around 400 speed. And you want to aim for just to the left of the key door. Otherwise, you go through the key door and the trick's over, you've ruined it, you're done. I can usually lock it in by slightly going down and right. To get through the door, you're gonna need about 280 speed. If you don't have 280, you're gonna get stuck in front of it and you gotta try again. Anyway, that's the whole trick. If you've got any questions, put them in the comments. And if you have better tips than mine, I'd love to hear them. Put them in the comments. I think this trick is a lot easier than people have made it out to be. It's just not been explained very clearly.